This KFAN podcast is sponsored by Builders and Remodelers, exclusive Twin Cities provider of Elements Windows. Get the highest quality windows at unmatchable value. Visit buildersandremodelers.com for more details.
This podcast is sponsored by Talkspace. May is Mental Health Awareness Month, and Talkspace, the leading virtual therapy provider, is telling everyone, let's face it in therapy. By talking or texting with a supportive, licensed therapist at Talkspace, you can face whatever is holding you back, whether it's mental health symptoms, relationship drama, past trauma, bad habits, or another challenge that you need support to work through. It's easy to sign up. Just go to Talkspace.com and you'll be paired with a provider, typically within 48 hours. And because you'll meet your therapist online, you don't have to take time off work or arrange childcare. You'll meet on your schedule. Plus, Talkspace is in-network with most major insurers, and most insured members have a $0 copay. Make your mental health a priority and start today. If you're not covered by insurance, get $80 off your first month with Talkspace when you go to Talkspace.com and enter promo code SPACE80. That's SPACE80. To match with a licensed therapist today, go to Talkspace.com and enter promo code SPACE80.
Yeah, not the montage we were hoping to hear today on the Tennafitzgerald. As Common Man is out, he will be back on Monday. He's up at his Camp Richard today. But me, Brandon Molesky, Tenna B, this is the Tennafitzgerald. Brett Blakemore, he's the one who put the montage together today. Hi, Brett.
Hi,
Good job.
Tenna.
Good job as always.
Thank you.
And then we got lots going on today. Obviously, 1 o'clock, Lil B always joins on Fridays. We've got Program Password Invitational quarterfinal number 2 at 1:30 today. That'll be Greg Swedberg and Larry Mondello guy versus Meat Sauce and Max Fuller.
Lucky.
And then Kelly Panic of the Minnesota Frost will join at 2:15 today. Big win for them in overtime last night to even their Walter Cup final series at 1-1. But obviously the biggest story is the Minnesota Timberwolves losing last night in Game 2 in Oklahoma City by 15, 118-103 in the entire 12 o'clock hour. Trent Tucker from In the Zone, former Golden Gopher, former NBA champion, will be in studio for the entire next hour. How you doing, Trent? Great to see you.
Good, Brandon. How are you?
Good. I love that I bring you in for basketball, and then all you and I ever do is talk about hockey off the air.
Yeah.
You were just hockey obsessed.
Yeah. Just hockey obsessed every single day. Hockey is a beautiful game. It's a great game now that I've gotten a lot closer to it because my kids play a lot. I'm understanding, the nuances of how the game should be played. And it's very similar to basketball. You see a lot of things that take place on the hockey rink that you can see on the basketball court. And the breakouts in the hockey is like a fast break in basketball. Finding soft spots, to get the shots off in hockey is like finding soft shots in the zone to get them off in basketball. So I see a lot of similarities, but I'm enjoying the game a great deal.
As a father, talking to your kids throughout the years playing hockey, do you give them any hockey advice at all, given that you didn't play the sport, or did you just give them basketball analogies like you just did, or have you just kind of stayed off and let them kind of learn on their own?
I try to help them from a mental standpoint,
Sure.
and how can you grow and become a better player every day, but also a better teammate. And consistency is the most important thing. Doing the same things over and over and over and over again. Sometimes kids say, "Well, this has become boring." And when the game becomes boring from that standpoint, then it's time for you to do something different.
Sure.
And consistency is the main thing. And to become good at something, you have to be willing to do the same things over and over and over again.
Now, as of this moment, my 10-year-old doesn't really listen to anything I say when it comes to coaching.
Yeah.
I feel like my 8-year-olds have been a little bit more willing. Do your kids listen to you?
They do. I mean, now they're at that age where all the games are streamed. So when the games are over and we get back home, they are quick to ask me to sit down and watch the game with them. And I kind of just point out some things here and there. The puck is over in the left side and you're a defenseman. Why are you on the wall on the right side? Why don't you slide over and cover the middle of the ice? Because if the puck squirts out and you're on that side, that kid is too fast. You're not going to catch him. He's going to be up the ice before you know it. So I try to help them with just some of the mental aspect of being an athlete and how do you grow and overcome things when days are not going well, and what do you need to get better on a daily basis. Are you willing to sacrifice and put in the work? And these are some of the things that at a young age that you're going to have to give up to become better. And I always tell them, if you are lucky enough to get to where you're trying to go, you're going to have a whole lot of fun on that journey.
I feel like you're on the wrong Saturday show. You shouldn't even be on In the Zone. You should be on Beyond the Pond. You couldn't be any worse than Fallness and Micheletti. I mean, let's be honest.
I enjoy, I enjoy the competition and the competitive nature and of hockey. And you watching the Stanley Cup now, and you watch a team like the Florida Panthers. I mean, they are good, they're rough, but they're smart hockey players, and they're a solid team, and each guy's pulling for one another. And to me, that's the beauty of team sports. And I was lucky enough, as an athlete to have those opportunities to be on good team with good players and good coaching and guys who were committed to getting better every day. And when you can find a group of guys that have the same mindset, well, then the journey is well worth it. Going to work now becomes a whole lot easier is because everybody on the team has the same mindset.
All right, well, let's dig into the Minnesota Timberwolves. We got it off to a little bit of a delayed start today, so we're going to go to break early here. I know Brett Blakemore has a keyword, but Trent Tucker in studio. If you want to connect with us and ask Trent a question about that Wolves loss last night in OKC, you can text us at the Brad Sean Bryant KFAN text line. You can also shoot us a talk back on the iHeartRadio app. You got that microphone right next to the play button when you click on KFAN, which should be a preset, by the way. You got no more than 30 seconds to ask Trent Tucker a question. We'll talk Wolves OKC Game 2 with Trent Tucker next. But Brett, you get a keyword over there.
The Fan and BigDeck.com going to give you a shot to win bonus bucks with our national cash contest. Head to KFAN.com. The keyword is money. Keyword money. KFAN.com. Keyword money.
Did you know that many products for pregnant women do not have their own clinical trials for safety or efficacy? That's because pregnant women are often excluded from clinical studies. Ritual is aiming to set a new standard with their Essential Prenatal Multivitamin. It's the #1 best-selling prenatal and the only leading prenatal backed by its own human clinical trial. Essential Prenatal is proven to deliver key nutrients, including folate, biotin, and vitamin D during pregnancy. Moms taking Essential Prenatal had a lower overall cortisol level during pregnancy than those taking a leading prenatal. Plus, it's designed to be gentle on the stomach. Ritual doesn't just have your back. They have the receipts. Get 25% off at ritual.com/clinical. These statements have not been evaluated by the Food and Drug Administration. This product is not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease.
Yeah.
Farm Aid 40 is coming to Minneapolis. Join Willie Nelson, Neil Young, Dave Matthews, and more Saturday, September 20th at Huntington Bank Stadium. Celebrate 40 years of music, food, and family farming. Tickets on sale now. Full details, KFAN.com. Keyword calendar.
Will sound here at OKC, and the Thunder have won the first 2 games of the Western Conference Finals in convincing fashion. 118-103 is the final. The Timberwolves are down 2-0, a spot that they have never come back and won a series in franchise history. 0-7 went down 2-0 in a postseason series.
Yeah, Alan Horton on the call last night as the Wolves lose in OKC. Now down 2-0 in the series. Tenna B here along with Trent Tucker from In the Zone. Trent, I will say after game 1, even though the score ended up being lopsided, I left the game going, I think the Wolves can play with this team. They were, controlling a good chunk of the first half. I didn't think that OKC was an overwhelmingly good team. I thought Shea was flopping nonstop, and that wasn't going to continue. Last night was a little bit more of a high-opening experience. That was, I thought, I left last night's game going, well, I think the Thunder just might be the better team. I know we haven't played them at our place yet, but how would you evaluate last night's game?
Oklahoma City is a very good basketball team. I mean, they have a great team, and you don't win 65-plus games not being good. But I think the Wolves still can play with them. The Wolves just have to clean up a few things here or there. Let's go back to game 1. You had a chance to push your lead to double digits, but you turned the ball over. And all of a sudden now you have a 4-point lead at halftime. Last night you're down by 6 with the basketball in the end of the first half with about 15 seconds to go. The worst in that situation, you wanted to go in the locker room down by 6. Now you may have a chance to be down 3 or 4. But DiVincenzo picks up an offensive foul. And I think so far in these first 2 games, how the Wolves have ended the first half, those things have not gone well for them. It has put them behind the 8 ball to start the third quarter. And they need to come out in the third quarter with a lot more urgency and a lot more energy because that's where the game is getting away from them.
You know, I think throughout the season we saw just inconsistencies and ups and downs from the Wolves. And even I think in the first 2 playoff series, even though they won in 5 games in both of those, you know, there were stretches where they weren't necessarily playing a complete 48 minutes, but could just kind of turn it on whenever they want. It almost seems like OKC is that good where you do have to play a full 48 against them. You can't have a 10-minute lull against them.
No, I mean, because when you fall asleep, you turn the ball over. You allow them now to do what they do best. They get out in transition. They have guys who want to play a fast-paced game. And all of a sudden now a 6-point lead goes to a 6-point deficit now goes to a 15-point deficit. If you take care of the basketball and make them have to chase the pass, you know, when the Wolves are moving the ball well from strong side to weak side, they get shots. You have to give Oklahoma City a lot of credit because they're very good at defending you off the dribble. And how do you beat a team like Oklahoma City? You have to make them defend the pass. The ball can move much faster than the players. And when the Wolves come down and make 3 or 4 or 5 passes, now you force the defense to have to scramble. They get out of position. And that's when you can find those driving lanes and those open shots. And the Wolves did a very good job, I thought, in game 1 when they first started the game off. They made 3 or 4 passes on their first initial push. And Jaden McDaniel got a wide open 3-point shot. It's because you have to make the defense shift. And if the defense doesn't shift, then they can lock in and force you to go east and west. And somehow, somewhere, I think over the next 2 games for sure, Minnesota's going to have to change how they do things on the offensive end and force Oklahoma City to guard them going north and south compared to going east and west.
So what changes should they make in that regard then?
I think they run the pick and roll at the top of the key. So the pick and roll is starting at about 27, 28 feet, and you bring in Rudy Gobert out in most situations to set the screen. Oklahoma City is doing a very good job of forcing you and extending your offense beyond your comfort zone. And if they trap Anthony Edwards at 27 feet, well, his outlet guy is Rudy Gobert. But Rudy Gobert is not going to make an offensive play at 27 feet. He's not
going to make one at 5 feet.
Right. So now all of a sudden your offense is broken down. I would like to see, them change where they run the pick and roll at, maybe take it on the side and get it down below the free throw line. Get it below 15 feet. So now let's say if Julius Randle sets the screen on Anthony Edwards, when he come off that pick and roll, and if they're late, now he has a 17-foot jump shot, or he can turn the corner and get to the basket on 1 or 2 bounces. If they trap, he got Julius Randle on the road. Now he can get to the basket on 1 bounce. Oklahoma City is very good when they can make you make 2 or 3 dribbles to try to beat them off the bounce. That's when they turn you over. But if you can attack them with your offense below the free throw line, that's when they begin to struggle.
Let's talk about Julius because, through the first 2 series, you could argue he's your team's MVP. He was terrific against the Golden State Warriors. Last night, just 6 points. Even in game 1, I think there was a lot of people that thought, Julius is really great. I thought in the game 1 he was hitting shots, like he was hitting 3-point shots. But to me, what was making Julius great the first 2 series was like he has the ability to do something that nobody else on the team does, and that's play a little bully ball inside. And I felt like he wasn't getting inside on OKC. So even though he was scoring in the first game, I felt like it was just because he was hitting 3-point shots, not necessarily because he was getting into the lane and getting to that area. And then, last night he was kind of completely shut down. So what has changed with Julius? I'm assuming OKC's defense has a lot to do with this, but is there something you're seeing differently with him compared to the first 2 series?
Well, in the first 2 series, he could use those multiple dribbles to get to his spot. He could take 4, 5, and 6 dribbles and play bully ball. Not against Oklahoma City. When you take more than 2 dribbles, somebody's coming from the weak side. And now they force you into a bad situation that leads to a turnover. And that's why I say you have to put him now in different spots where he can make a move off of one bounce. And you have to get that ball below the free throw line. When the Wolves start the offense at 28 feet, all of a sudden now you feed into exactly what Oklahoma City wants you to do. They want you to extend your offense further away from your comfort zone, and now they have the foot speed to stay in front of you. But once you get that ball below the free throw line and you can take that bounce, take that one bounce that you need to get to the basket quicker and quickly, now you begin to break down their defense. So I don't know if Chris Finch is able to make those type of changes before game number 3, but I believe the only way that offensively they can be effective against this team, they're going to have to start their offense below that free throw line.
Ant, 32 points last night on 12 of 16 shooting, also had 9 rebounds, 6 assists. Box score looks good. How did you feel about the way he played? And I guess specifically, my fear with him throughout the series is he's going to have to work really, really hard, and I don't know if he's going to get worn down here as the series moves along.
Offense. So that's why you have to move the defense with the pass. You know, it's Oklahoma City. I mean, you can look at them. They're very good defensively. They can stay in front of you. When they can, like I mentioned before, when they can extend your offense to 25 to 26 to 27 feet, you have to work too hard now to get into a position where you're comfortable enough to run your offense. And now the shot clock is running down. When they bring that extra defender, they force you to make one more pass, and now that's a rush shot because the shot clock now becomes a major factor. You know, there are a number of plays that I look at because of guys who I played with that were very good offensive players, and you have to change up some things here and there and put them in better positions where they can go quicker and counter off of 1 or 2 bounces before the defense can get set and take things away from you. But inside of this offense is pretty much pick and roll basketball at the top of the key. And Oklahoma City right now has shown you that they are very good at defending that. The Denver Nuggets takes them to 7 games. Why? It's because there were a particular time during that matchup, Jokic started his offense below the free throw line. And they couldn't deal with him. When they got to game 7, all of a sudden now Caruso could guard Jokic is because Jokic was trying to beat him one-on-one from 25 feet. No 7-footer is going to be a smaller defender who is quick on his feet off the dribble from 25 feet. So Denver, for some reason, decided to run their offense from 25 feet. That played right into the hands of the Oklahoma City Thunder. And if the Wolves can switch up a few things now and start their offense a little bit closer to the basket, I believe they're going to find more success on the offensive end.
All right, we're going to continue to talk Wolves Thunder for the next 30 minutes with Trent Tucker. I also want to get into Pacers Knicks because that was an incredible game 1.
It was.
Maybe get into a little Caitlin Clark Angel Reese controversy as well. Trent Tucker in the zone. You'll be able to hear him tomorrow morning with Dave Sinekin at 8 a.m. Right here on the Fan. But we'll do one final segment, a longer segment with Trent Tucker next on the Tennafitzgerald.
This podcast is sponsored by Talkspace. May is Mental Health Awareness Month, and Talkspace, the leading virtual therapy provider, is telling everyone, let's face it in therapy. By talking or texting with a supportive, licensed therapist at Talkspace, you can face whatever is holding you back, whether it's mental health symptoms, relationship drama, past trauma, bad habits, or another challenge that you need support to work through. It's easy to sign up. Just go to Talkspace.com and you'll be paired with a provider, typically within 48 hours. And because you'll meet your therapist online, you don't have to take time off work or arrange childcare. You'll meet on your schedule. Plus, Talkspace is in-network with most major insurers, and most insured members have a $0 copay. Make your mental health a priority and start today. If you're not covered by insurance, get $80 off your first month with Talkspace when you go to Talkspace.com and enter promo code SPACE80. That's SPACE80. To match with a licensed therapist today, go to Talkspace.com and enter promo code SPACE80.
Fan.
Carboni's Pizza wants to fuel your playoff party. Visit one of their 30-plus locations to enjoy delicious pizza and get ready for the playoff run. Find your nearest Carboni's today at carbonispizza.com.
One final segment with Trent Tucker from In the Zone, a longer segment, and we'll get to your text here in a little bit. Trent, talking to you off the air, you need to be a basketball coach. Why aren't you coaching somewhere?
Well,
once the kids get out of high school, would you come back?
Yeah,
you need to be on a sideline somewhere.
Coaching is fun. I like to teach the game, but it's a hard profession to get into if you are not connected with someone.
Mm-hmm.
That's because most of the head coaches, they already have their group of guys who they like working with, and when you're an outsider, it's a tough profession to find your way into.
There's a lot more new age stats now than when you played. Like they keep track of plus minus. I want to get your opinion. That's always a hockey stat. I want to get your opinion on what you think of the plus minus stat, because obviously there's a lot of variables that go into whether you're a plus or a minus. Do you take anything?
I don't look at it too much in that way. I'm looking at, how effective can you be in certain situations on the floor. And yeah, you might be on the floor and the team might not be playing well at that stage, but it may not be your fault. And all of a sudden you get this negative thing attached to you. But to me, it's all about, can you guard your man? Can you rebound the basketball? Are you going to get the 50-50 plays? Can you make open shots when they're there? That's what it all comes down to me. I've never been a guy who looked at the plus-minus type situation in a big way. I'm just looking at, the physical competition and the mental capacity that comes with trying to win a championship. This is a very hard deal. And the Wolves are going to have to play much harder. I thought they played extremely hard in the fourth quarter, but that's the type of effort and energy they're going to have to spend if they want to beat this team. I think they still have the personnel to beat Oklahoma City, but now will they have the commitment and the strategic game plan to knock off this team? There are some ways that you can attack and beat Oklahoma City, but they're going to have to figure this thing out very quickly.
So the reason I asked the plus-minus question is because I saw this stat last night. The Timberwolves are plus 19 in this series when Mike Conley's on the floor. When he's not on the floor, they are minus 60. So that leads everyone to go, well, Mike Conley needs to play him more, right? And I guess I didn't leave last night's game going, man, Mike Conley was so good, we got to keep playing him. Now, I have watched and go, maybe Dante DiVincenzo shouldn't be on the court as much, but does that plus minus stat mean anything to you, or is that just kind of, hey, they just happened to go on a run while he was on the court, or they went on, OKC went on a run when he was off of it, kind of thing?
No, because like I said before, I'm looking at when Mike Conley is on the floor, is he making open jump shots? Are we turning the basketball over? Is he getting guys into the offense? Is our offense running smoothly? Can we somehow, some way break down what they're doing on the defensive end? And so I've never been a guy who looked at that type of situation in a big way. I'm all about, okay, can you win your matchup? I take you back to 1993, and when we played, I was with the Chicago Bulls, and we played the Phoenix Suns in the NBA Finals. They had a point guard named Kevin Johnson. Kevin Johnson was as good as any point guard playing that year. They won 62-plus basketball games. They have the best record in the entire NBA with Charles Barkley and Danny Ainge and Dan Broughton and some of those players. And we told B.J. Armstrong, you got to guard Kevin Johnson, and you have no help. Now, you're not going to stop Kevin Johnson every single time, but there are going to come critical moments, in this playoff run that you're going to have to make a stop. And I think the Wolves defensive players knowing that, hey, SGA is a heck of an offensive player. He's a heck of an offensive player. You're not going to stop him from scoring. But at some point in time, you got to take on the challenge and say that I'm going to make it as hard as I can. And then figure out, okay, what do I need to do? I got to take something away. For one, I can't be on the side of him when he's driving to the basket because he's going to lean into me and get to the free throw line and get an and one. So just stay in front as much as you can and make him shoot the ball over the top. You gotta be willing to take away something. And I think Jaden McDaniel needs to take on that challenge. I am going to try to guard this guy the best I can, knowing that he's a very good offensive player. If we don't have to come and double team and help Jaden McDaniel, Now those spot-up shooters that Oklahoma City rely on so much, they don't become a major factor in the game. And when those guys are able to knock down three-point shots, it's because the Wolves' defense now is in the scramble, and they have to rotate to guys. And Oklahoma City does a very good job of making that extra pass to find that wide-open guy. And those three-point shots, they break your back.
Clearly, SGA knows how to get under the skin of the opponents, right? Game one, you saw Ant throw the ball, kind of at him a little bit and got a technical for it. Last night, Jaden McDaniels, clearly pushed him at a moment last night. How do you feel the Wolves are handling kind of the mental, psychological aspects, specifically with SGA? Because it seems like they're getting frustrated easily by him.
Very much so. I mean, game one, Wolves up by 7 or 8. Anthony was, he got away with the first foul, but then he continued, to push and push and push and shove, and they called the foul. Now he goes to the free throw line and makes 2 free throws. And in game one, he got off to a very slow start. You never want to give a really good offensive player any time and any opportunities to find his rhythm. I think from a strategic standpoint, the Wolves are going to have to come in with a game plan defensively on how we're going to guard this team. And right now, I don't think they have an idea on how to guard Oklahoma City.
I'm going to get sidetracked here for a second because you mentioned 1993 earlier. You mentioned Kevin Johnson. I'm curious, I'm sure you've talked about it maybe on the station before, maybe I didn't hear it. The Last Dance documentary, I absolutely love. Watched it when it came out. I think I watched it again last year. I already have plans this summer once the Wolves are done and I don't have anything. Wolves and Wild are going to be done, so I'm going to have my TV options are going to be available to me again. I'm probably going to go through the entire documentary again. I just love it. Did you ever watch The Last Dance? And how much of that was, I know you weren't on all those teams, but how much of that was accurate? How much of that was like, I don't know if that's exactly the way that went.
I watched it. I enjoyed it. It's pretty much accurate. Yeah. Michael Jordan is all about winning. He's all about winning. And Michael Jordan is not hard to play with if you're committed to the same things that he's committed to.
Sure.
And a lot of players find it difficult to play with Michael Jordan is because if you don't want to be in the spotlight, well, then Michael Jordan is hard to play with. Because more times than not, his team is going to be playing at this time of the year.
Yes.
When there's maybe 3 or 4 teams left. Now the entire basketball community is tuning in to watch. Games are going to be close. And if you're on the floor, at some point in time, he's going to pass the ball to you. And now you're going to be in the spotlight. And you're going to have to...
You got to want that spotlight.
You make that shot. So you have to want to be in that situation. And if you don't want to be in that situation, that's when Michael Jordan becomes hard to play with. I've always tried to tell kids that, you want to be the best player. But you don't always have to be the best player. I just want to be a guy who is good enough to play with the best player. And if I'm good enough to play with the best player, that means I'm going to play basketball for a very long time.
You're disappointed you weren't there for the Dennis Rodman era?
And no, that might, I played against Dennis.
I bet Michael has had stories with you that we don't even get to see about Dennis Rodman.
I played against Dennis when he was in Detroit. But, Dennis came to work every day. Well, all the things he did off the court, and he had the perfect coach for his personality in Phil Jackson. Phil Jackson understood Dennis. He knew how Dennis operated. The only thing that he talked to Dennis about was that when it's time to go to work, will you be here for your teammates and doing the job that we need for you to do? You want to stay out to 5, 6, 7, 8 o'clock in the morning? That's your business. You're a grown man. But when it's time to come to work at 10 a.m., will you be here at 10 a.m.? And as long as you show up and perform and your off-the-court activities don't affect our on-the-court performances, then everything's good.
Scottie Pippen, I'm sorry, I keep going. I could talk Bulls in the 90s all day long. Scottie Pippen, at the time you were there, did you see, hey, this guy is going to be one of the greatest?
Yeah.
Right? I mean, he was kind of a little bit in Michael's shadow to a certain extent, but...
In 94, I know Akeem Olajuwon won the MVP, but clearly to me, Scottie Pippen was the best player in basketball in 1994.
Wow.
Yeah.
With Michael Jordan as his teamate.
Michael Jordan retired that year.
Oh, yeah. That was the 2 years that Jordan was out.
And Scottie Pippen was a wonderful basketball player.
All right, back to Wolves Thunder. Got a text message that says, what are the OKC Thunder's weaknesses? What don't they do well? What do they struggle with? He says, P.S., please go visit the locker room before Game 3 and give them some inspiration.
You can hurt them if you can get to the offensive glass. And how you get to the offensive glass is that you got to break down their defense with inside of that free throw line like we talked about, because you got to make those big guys step up and guard you off the penetration. And you and I have talked about this, a lot over the last, 15 to 20 minutes or so. Oklahoma City is very good when they can force the guy with the basketball to have to dribble more than twice to make his offense work. That's when that second or third guy comes in and puts you in a bad situation. When you can attack them off of one bounce, that works for your offense. But I think the real key for the Wolves is that they have to move the ball from strong side to weak side. They're going to have to penetrate and beat this team with the pass more so than with the dribble.
Another time, and this might lead to what you were kind of just talking about there, but in terms of rebounding. But another text says, Trent, to my uneducated basketball mind, it seems silly the amount of three the Wolves shoot without having an inside presence to rebound. I feel like a Kevin Love would have thrived grabbing rebounds, tossing back to Ant. Your thoughts?
Well, see, when you're not accurate from the three-point line, those rebounds don't stay around around the basket. They bounce out long. They bounce out to 15 to 16 feet. And so all of a sudden now your offensive rebounders are not in position now, to get those second and third opportunities. And when those balls take those long bounces back out to the free throw line, it opens up the defense now to get into transition. And that's where Oklahoma City thrives at. When they can get into the open floor, they got guys who are very good in filling lanes and finishing at the basket. So long three-point shot misses, all of a sudden now turns into a transition game for the opposition.
Text from Paul says, Trent, can you please shed light on the center position? I was under the impression Rudy is an elite center, yet Rudy's been abused by inferior, on paper, centers in this OKC series and last year's Maverick series. Why is an elite center such as Rudy so ineffective whenever I watch him in playoff basketball?
Well, when you have to think about who is Rudy Gobert. He's not a really great offensive player. He's never been your go-to guy as an offensive player to play with his back to the basket. Rudy Gobert is a defender, rebounder, and shot blocker, and he's a guy that makes his offense work based on penetration from his teammates. And when the Wolves are not able to break down the defense and get into the lane and draw those big guys to step up in space, now Rudy can slide into those open spots for those easy baskets in the lane. And when you take those things away from the Wolves, then Rudy Gobert becomes a non-factor on the offensive end.
And he flourished offensively in Game 5 against the Lakers and Game 5 against Golden State. And a lot of it was, Ant Julius getting attention and just giving him easy 1 foot, 2 foot dunks. I mean, it seems like, and he hasn't gotten any of those in the series.
Well, and Oklahoma City understands that if he's going to set the pick and roll, we're just going to trap the guy with the ball because we want the Wolves to pass the ball to Rudy Gobert at 25 feet. So now, if you're Chris Finch, this is what I would like to see them do. Take Rudy Gobert out of the pick and roll situation. And not just run it at the top of the key, move it down to the side, right around that free throw line area. So now you force the defense to have to make a decision. If they trap the pick and roll, now you got the guy rolling to the basket, and he can play off of one bounce. So now his decisions now become quicker. He can beat the defense before he can get there and make a play either for himself or for one of his teammates. And if they get caught up not knowing whether to hedge or to trap or to switch, now all of a sudden Anthony Edwards is taking jump shots at 15 to 17 feet instead of trying to beat somebody from 27 feet for a long three-point shot. I would like to see the Wolves try to counter from a different standpoint offensively, so that their best offensive players are in a much more comfortable position where they can operate from.
Another texter says, can Nas go closer to the basket for Game 3 since he is shooting so poorly from three? Put him and Rudy down low and make them cover 7-footers down low. Should open others for threes. Well, how about Nas's game?
Well, that's where you want them to be, because the three-point shot right now is not going, but also Oklahoma City is the reason why your three-point shots are not going, because they're running at you and they're making you rush those shots. So patience on the offensive end, move that basketball 3 or 4 times from strong side to weak side, and that's going to open up some driving lanes and some easier looks at the basket. And once you get them out of position, that's where your big guys now can slide into those open gaps and hopefully find some second and third chances.
The Pacers had the massive comeback, down 14 with 2:45 remaining in Game 1. They come back, they tie it at the buzzer, they win in overtime. That Game 1 for New York, how deflating is that? Obviously, it's just one game and it's early in a series, so you still have plenty of time to recover. But the manner in which they lose, like how deflating can that be mentally or psychologically on a team at this stage of the season?
Well, you're going to find out how tough the Knicks are mentally, because that was a bad loss for them. And Indiana now knows that, hey, in game number 2, all the pressure is on the New York Knicks. They don't want to come back, to Indianapolis down 2-0. So we have a free game to play with. We can just come out now and just play and attack and be aggressive and play our game, knowing that all of the pressure is on the New York Knicks. They have to make every play. They know that. They can't make no mistakes. They're going to feel the pressure from their fans. If things are not going well early, the fans in New York will quickly start to boo. And in Indiana, knowing that, saying, hey, if we can come out and get off to a good start and put this team behind the 8 ball right from the beginning, all of a sudden now they might begin to feel that frustration and things are not going well for them, and that could put us in the driver's seat to win game number 2.
What'd you think of the Halliburton choke celly? He was reminding us of Reggie Miller, kind of honoring him.
I knew that if he got into that situation, he was going to do that.
You did?
I knew that. I said, because, many people have talked about him being overrated. To me, he's a fantastic basketball player, and he's not overrated by any stretch of the imagination. He is very, very good. He's a clutch performer. He's not afraid of the big moment, and he's the leader for that basketball team. And when they got behind, his game became better. He understood exactly the things that he needed to do to put his team in a situation to try to win that basketball game. And that's what good leadership is all about.
How have you thought Karl Anthony Towns has assimilated himself within the New York Knicks in his first season?
It's worked out very well. And I think the trade between the Wolves and the Knicks have worked out well for both teams. The Wolves were in the Western Conference Finals a year ago. You make the trade to get Julius Randle. Things weren't going well early, but as the season moved on, as we got toward the end, he found his rhythm. The team found their rhythm, and now they're in the Western Conference Final once again with a chance to come home and get themselves back into this series. And Karl Anthony Towns has been a wonderful plus for the New York Knicks as well.
I'm curious your thoughts on the Caitlin Clark, Angel Reese little imbroglio they had where, it appears as if Angel maybe pushes one of Caitlin's teammates. She's about to have an open layup. Caitlin goes in with a hard foul. There's a little bit of pushing and shoving after. And I find it very interesting because I think if it's any two other players in the WNBA, it's like a complete non-story. Nobody's talking about it. But because these two got a rivalry dating all the way back to college. And I also just I don't understand. They look like a foul I saw in the 1990s all the time, right? Person's wide open for a layup and you're going to take out, you don't want to give them the easy bucket, true. Right? Yeah. Right? I know the game's changed a little bit since then, but what did you think of that whole scenario?
I think it's, for those two, for them it seems like that the attention on those two has been really good for the WNBA.
Yes.
It is because when they get on the court at the same time, it's almost like must-see TV. Mm-hmm. You have to watch to see what what Caitlin Clark and Angel Reese are going to bring to the table. And Angel Reese has a total different game. You know, she's a low post player. You know, she's a hard worker down low. She's a blue collar player. You know, where Caitlin Clark, I think in time, she's going to be the best player in the WNBA. She's fun to watch. You know, she is a Golden State Warrior type player. You know, she can dribble, she can shoot, she understands the game.
I think Angel might be a different Golden State Warriors player.
Yeah,
Draymond.
It's Draymond. Great. Yeah, you're right. So she's more like...
It's Steph and Draymond.
Yeah, so they just on opposite sides. But I think it's good for the WNBA to have that type of rival. You know, the NBA had it for years with Magic and Larry. And so I think it's good for the WNBA and women's basketball.
You'll be in the zone tomorrow morning?
I will.
You and Dave Sinekin?
Me and Dave will be there. There's no hockey on the schedule, so I will be here.
I do have one final thing to tell you. I don't think I've ever told you this, but I used to do television analyst work for the Wolves back in the day, and you kind of had your catchphrase of "I see you, big fella." I still to this day, I don't know why I always remember this. There was a play in which Sam Mitchell got hit in the groin. I don't remember what body part was thrown at his groin, and he's hunched over on the court, and you just go, "I feel your pain, big fella. I feel your pain." It's one of the funniest things I remember. I will always remember that line from you, so appreciate it. Thanks, Trent. Appreciate it.
Anytime, man.
Trent Tucker will be back on In the Zone tomorrow morning with Dave Sinekin at 8 a.m. We got the Program Password Invitational about a half hour from now. Kelly Panic from the Frost will join at 2:15, but up next, it's the Smoke Show from Glencoe. Lil B joins me and Brett Blakemore on the Fitz.